Welcome to Elemental Hypertech. I don't generally talk about myself too much publicly. I, being Latin for ego, so ego is the definition of self. And ego has been harmonically built within the game and the movie because, again, the goal is to know thyself. Self. Ego. However, ego can be weaponized. And it's weaponized by becoming selfish, which brings us back to exploring ego. But I do have one. So this video, I'd like to make it about my ego. So that way you get to learn a little bit about me. And that's what's useful to have an ego, is to know your limitations, to be willing to expand on that. Because for some reason the ego, it likes to push. It likes to go beyond and give you strength, courage to endure, to push on, to push through. It's almost like fear and ego are BFFs. And they love each other, but they're always fighting with each other. So the idea of the ego is to begin to know yourself, but you don't get lost. Ego it'll do what feels right. It'll deal with what's going on in the moment. It doesn't take into consideration others. So make sure you have a relationship with your ego, because you don't want to lack empathy and sympathy. And they are in the heart, where ego is in the mind. Since the beginning, ego-wise, I am so incredibly grateful for you, because you're part of how it made it happen. Even if you don't agree with the methods, we did it our way. We did it a human way. We built the structure of time travel. And if you have been here since the beginning, you have played a role in that forever, because that is what time is. It's eternal. It's the specific within the filing system of our reality. So just like we can record a conversation like this, you can play it back in the future. You could relive it in real time, my voice. I could call you on the phone and you could be 5,000 miles away and you'll hear me in near real time. And you'll hear my voice. So when we're building this movie, ego, right? We're building this movie. I want to accomplish this in my life. And that's the design of the movie. The movie is simply to get you to say, what if, at the end. And also to teach you something about how complex you are, how beautiful you are, how wonderful you are. Your body is your temple. It's true. So we ran these experiments. We built all these because we wanted to know, we wanted to learn. But we had to look, right? We had to ask the right questions. Couldn't be done alone. It had to be done with everybody who happened to be, because it's talking about time travel, happened to be in the right place at the right time, who assisted with these experiments. The first one was the Trinity Experiment, because we didn't know. We built that relationship with the mind in the Trinity Experiment. What is it really? And how come the mind can access the future through imagination? How does that process work? We built this. Thank you to you. You made this happen. Because all I did is put the question out there. We went and did the experiment to find the answer. Because, again, we didn't know. And this is the lesson that ego needs to learn, is that you don't know. You don't, but you do. You seek and you find and you discover and you explore and you become curious and you want to find out how things work. Whatever that thing is, whether it's gardening, because in the movie we just built Saturn and we're building these incredible relationships with these immortals. And then we built Uranus prior to Saturn, and amazing of the quality of communication and information and data sharing and reprogramming our reality. Where ego here, this is ego here. There's people on this channel who have great influence in their industry. This is what's helped me continue all these years. Look at the individual. And that's you listening to this right now. I'm talking about you. That's what made this happen. So the second experiment, the lash factor experiment, we learned about the gut, our brain and our stomach, right? And it's like how it's pressure, it's power. It's like it's the opposite of what the mind is, which we found out was force, right? And temperature, and the past, or the gut is the future, and it's mutable in the future, but in the mind, it's electric force, where we discovered wealth, and the gut is the magnetic power, where we explored health. Fascinating. These differences, they appear opposites, but they're actually connected. So, it's not imagination, but instincts. That's what we discovered in our gut, right? The element of water, where the mind is the element of air. And that was the lash factor experiment. You helped build that. You helped discover that. I'm honored by that. Just when I hear people make comments about they've been with me since the beginning, it really lifts my spirit. So that's why I wanted to come on here and share. My ego. Because it's been hard work, but it's been worth it because of the rewards and treasures that we have found. This is why we've shared it publicly too, so that way you can learn, you can participate, you can make it better. Elemental Hypertech is open source for anybody. Take it, do whatever you want with it. No, here's the no ego part. I don't need any credit. It's not for me. It's for a future generation to build whatever they want with it. I'm just lucky enough to be tuned into it to be able to communicate it. So are you, because if you've been here, you've helped perform the experiments, you are the same in that role as well. It's based in time travel, so it's past, present, and future. So there is no originator. There's a navigator, and there's a champion, and then there's the 12 immortals. And each of those are parts of you, how complex you are, and how you can connect like a rainbow bridge to each one of these. And then you begin to know thyself. And that's the goal, right? That's the goal in the end. Because once you are that, then there is nothing external or internal. There's nothing that you require. You are self-sufficient. You are sovereign in your own being. You are living your true self. And then those are the people I'm looking for, ego-wise. I want to find the people living their true selves because they're the most interesting. Because they're the most free. They have liberty. And they teach me things. So I want to be around those type of people, like the mentors the great mentors of the world. I want to learn from them. I want to hear from them. I want to know what their opinion is. And the best part is once I start disagreeing with them, I know that I'm now finding my own space, my own place. We are always looking out for information because we want to fine-tune our own truth. And those are the people I look for, is the people living in their truth. The third one, the third experiment, was the echo experiment. This was the heart. It wasn't imagination in the mind. It wasn't instincts in the gut. But is your intuition. The information seems to come from nowhere. It just appears like, wow, like magic. That's your intuition. And you trust these. You always trust your instincts. Always trust your gut, right? Your imagination. If you can imagine it, it's got to be true. So how does it fit into the puzzle of life and love and motion and movement and the present? So your heart is your intuition, the element of fire, your will and your passion, your beat, your soul, which is right below it, and the diaphragm, which is Jupiter in the game, and your throat, which is the seat of your spirit, because your voice comes from it. Neptune in the game. How true are you? How genuine are you? How close are your words matching to your actions? And this is, when you see that will let you know if they are living in ego or they are living in true life and love. Because their actions, their deeds, how they live will all be in harmony. And if that is the case, then your judgment on ego can be validated and verified. Because if you make comments that others have ego, but you do not know the life that they live, you do not have the evidence of experience of interacting with that individual, then it looks as if you are the one who unfortunately is holding a mirror. But that mirror is helpful because when you see who you are, which is called self-reflection, and in meditation it's very powerful, highly recommend it. Many stressors come bubbling up to the surface. But self-reflect. Find out what the root is of that. Because if you have been here since the beginning, you have powered up. You have leveled up. Because here's how I know. Because we ran the serendipity experiment, which was the 6th experiment. Sorry to skip ahead. But in the serendipity experiment, you could tune in to your own resonant frequency and the waves in which are emitted, transmitted, and returned, and your sensitivity level to the waves of influence allows you to find the nuances, the subtle differences. And those subtle differences and those nuances become your joy and your purpose because it's unique. You notice something new when you drive down the road, for example. Even though it's the same road, or you're sitting under the same tree, and yet something different happens. Something unique, something random. Your actions, and almost like you can enjoy the power and the force that is brought to you based on the influences, the waves that you have put out there for others. And those others can take them to other places, and then that information comes back, amplified. It's like it's true what they say in the ancient scriptures where we're all connected. We are all connected. I could feel all the different connections, right? That's what the serendipity experiment taught. Because you become very sensitive. But that process took a whole structure of things, almost like dialing a spiritual phone number. It wasn't just like one thing. It's like you actually are the key. Your body, you all the elements that are accumulated in it, earth, air, water, fire. Even for the advanced, we have the wood and the metal. That'll be in the movie too, but it'll be very subtle. All those experiments, all the things that we've done, so that way we can learn. We can know. We found what is the truth. So everybody got to play a role in deciding what that was. So this is how we built this. This is how we built the world's first time travel game. Now, the world's first time travel game was actually the 5th experiment, and it needed a great pause, which is curious because the great pause is perfect timing, right, Susie? As always, you have been here since the beginning as well, and you have filled my heart on many occasions and given me the strength to continue. The 4th experiment was the private experiment. That's the element of earth. This is where your tantra exists. It is your form and style. Ego's bridge to the element of earth is your flag or your banner, the clothes that you wear, how you present yourself. You're going to dig it your way. I'm going to dig it my way. This gives you diversity. This gives you abundance and bounty and, just unique and different approaches. With my ego, I'm very proud of what we've accomplished. 3 books, the world's first time travel game, the elementalhypertech school, the invention of the meditation plate, programmable matter. Does my ego have an insatiable thirst? Or do I have other agendas, other missions, other purposes that I find of interest myself? And perhaps I find reward differently than others do. That's my participation. That's what I get to deliver in ego. I'm grateful as well for your participation. And I'm humbled by the quality of what I've learned. Ego made clear my intention from the beginning, which was the element of air in the mind. Reverence is the morality matrix connection. The element of fire in the heart is gratitude. I'm grateful for each and every one of you for being a part of this. That is in the heart. In the gut, it's humility. In the body, it's sincerity. The element of earth. Perhaps where I succeed is when I see your beauty. And that's where we are today. That's where the ego is enjoying and the pleasure of beauty. To savor it. I share this with you so that way you get to know me a little better, right? Because that's the design of the ego, is to make sure you see me, right? The I am I. Self-awareness, conscious thought and reason, touching, urge, motive, and even desire. And ego is like that explorer, the inner monologue, navigating and charting, your path. And it does this based off evidence from your past, the things that you've accomplished, the things that you have done. It's used evidence to shape and mold the foundations of your experience. And your experience is the great aggregate, or the whole collection comes together and like a tapestry in a pattern. But the local That's the singularity. That's the point. That's your reference. That's yourself, your uniqueness that nobody else has. Nobody else has your perspectives. Nobody else has your experiences. So how it works is you build health and wealth, and ego is that guide. That guide rides the waves of emotion. So ego's true happiness is found in compassion. The moral path is your deeds and your merits, which is how you connect to Source, our Creator. This is what navigates my ego, is that connection. This is why I share so much with you here, to give back the abundance and bounty that I have been given. I want to share my riches with others because I realize that it's about relationships, the power of the individual, how there are so many in this world that I have met that are worthy and valuable. And then you get to a point where the ego goes, well, you know what? Everybody can reach that. Yes, they can. Through correction. And again, ego helps with that. Ego helps give you the courage to find correction. But you have to go and seek it. That's what the mentors teach. The mentors teach you, yes, it can be by necessity. It can be for survival. But it also can be by free will, by choice. You can choose your own adventure. You get to decide how you navigate in this world. And once you do, you begin to accumulate what you find valuable. And then when that accumulation of value becomes so great, you begin to share. And then we get to see you. We get to judge you, right? We get to see, okay, am I buying what the guy's selling, right? Is it worth it to pay attention? So, ego sometimes doesn't have compassion, but remind ego of compassion. Remind to go back to those roots of investigation and curiosity and identity. Ego will say, if my words don't match my actions, point them out. Say something. Teach. Enlighten. Empower. Give them correction. Make it easier for them. Not judgmental and pointy. Give specifics so we all can benefit. If not, again, it's just you're a mimicker, unfortunately. You have the mirror. So these are your feelings. And if your feelings run deep, meditate, go to those roots, find out what's causing that. Let that bubble up out of you. Pay attention to your body, or it'll talk to you. The things that you think about, like take the kids to school, or I have to make dinner tonight, right? All these things that come up, these are all little stressors that you have when you're just sitting there thinking, and your mind's going. Find harmony with that. I'm hoping that this is shared with this next adventure that we're on, with this incredibly crazy movie that we've been building. Hopefully it's going to be very unique. It's going to be very original, very different. That's the design. Design is supposed to be that way, right? Because you are that way. I will never meet anybody like you. And the closer you are to your core, to your center, you're able to express that. And you can impress upon me your journey, your odyssey, what you've been a champion and a villain for, right? So thank you for listening this long. Apparently, ego has a lot to say. And again, for me, beauty is where I am now.